having no friends can actually be a good thing. Think about it. If you have no friends, you don't have that extra friction when starting something new. If you have no friends, you don't have to think about how they'll perceive you when you start whatever it is you're trying to start. Being able to do something without being affected by friends or what they think is an actual blessing. I guess it's like that fresh feeling of going somewhere new. No one has any expectations of you, and you don't fit into any one box. You can do something that will seem weird without being afraid of or even experiencing much pushback or even judgment. And an area where I've definitely noticed that this is probably an advantage is in the content creation space. So many people who have started a YouTube channel always talk about the issues they had when with their friends judging them. Like, these creators talk about how their friends actually thought they were cringe and out of touch. But the thing is, I didn't have to go through that. I mean, it might be because I don't show my face and I have no emotion, but starting new things isn't something I've had much trouble with because no one knew I was starting them. That's the beauty of being alone. Having no friends means you can speak your mind on YouTube without worrying that someone might find your channel and call you out for it. So if you're someone that has no friends, please start a channel. That's something I'll tell you. That this doesn't really have much to do with the rest of this topic, but I'm gonna tell you that please start a channel because it replaces consuming with creating. And I'll talk about that in another video. But having no friends also allows you to figure out who you are, truly who you are. No friends means you'll spend a lot of time alone. And I'm speaking from experience here. I've been online school since 10th grade and I've spent a lot of time alone. Doing school online was both the best and the worst decision I've ever made. Yeah, like, sure, I was lonely, but being isolated with my own mind has allowed me to figure out what's inside of it. It's allowed me to stay true to myself because it's a lot easier to stay true to yourself when you answer to no one. You see what I'm saying here? When you aren't constantly being influenced by the thoughts of others, you start to figure out who you truly are. And yeah, I did miss out on a lot, but I never really had FOMO. Actually, I'll be lying if I said that. I had FOMO, but like not as much as I expected. I actually almost had like this relief that I don't have to perform anymore. I don't have to try to be someone I'm not. And something else that comes with the absence of friends is isolation. Isolation has allowed me to be myself, as I said. I mean, yeah, it's not like I'm completely like indifferent to the voices of others, but now they occupy and like influence my mind less and my actions less. I had an honest conversation with a friend about a week ago, and he was telling me how he catches himself like seeking validation and praise from others. And he's telling me how it leads to him sometimes acting in a certain way to like gain approval from others. And I told him that I used to be like that too. I mean, I'm still, as I said, I'm still not immune to the opinions of others, but I've seen the change in my mind from isolation or because of isolation. When you have a period in your life when no friends are chirping in your ear, telling you what you should and shouldn't do, you start to do what you really want to do without worrying about what they think. And having to do things for approval or being someone you truly aren't, it's tiring, bro. Trust me. Because if you slip up even once, your whole self-image and how other people perceive you, it shatters. But the thing is, I wouldn't ever have been able to escape that trap if I wasn't isolated. At least I don't think I would ever be who I am now if I wasn't in isolation. Loneliness and isolation forced me to face my deepest flaws. And I feel like that's so important in a world where all we do is consume and try to shut off our brains. Because all this consumption, it gives us no time to think. It just always has us moving on to the next thing that you will use to silence your mind. It's comfortable to numb yourself. And to be honest, it's easier now more than ever before. That's something you have to be careful about or careful with when you're isolated. Because I promise you, you'll probably catch yourself replacing those people's voices, your friends' voices, your old friends if you even ever had any. You'll catch yourself replacing them with other slop. And you'll start to consume just for the sake of consuming. But when it's just you and your thoughts, you start to realize you probably have nothing figured out. You start to think, who am I apart from these friends? And before being isolated, I would always focus on the superficial and never look at the bigger picture of my future life. I mean, I would look towards the future, but I would never prepare for it, if you know what I mean. But isolation, it makes you contemplate. It makes you contemplate your life and what you spent your life doing. And if you have nothing to show for it, it will probably lead to a strong and honestly harsh realization when it's just you facing your past decisions. So many people are scared of having no friends, scared of being alone, but the fear of being alone lowers your standards. Let me know if this sounds familiar or relatable in the comments. You'll stay with a friend that drains your energy because you'd rather deal with them than be alone, because being alone is scary. Not only that, but you'll start to present yourself to other people as someone you know you aren't, because it feels, or it's like what you feel like you have to do if you want to keep a roster and avoid being alone. But the one thing I've learned through my experience of having little to no friends is that once you conquer that fear, the fear of being alone, you'll start to trade quantity for quality. You'll learn to have some self-respect for yourself and realize that most people weren't actually your friends. They were also just people who didn't want to be alone, people who wanted to feel validated. But most people nowadays, they measure their worth in popularity. And if you're comfortable being alone, you won't need others to determine your self-worth. That's one of the biggest things. Or you won't need them to boost your ego. And every friend costs something. Whether it be your time, your money, your attention, or your energy. Whenever you are okay with being alone or having no friends, you start to realize how much of these currencies were going to straight slop friends. And it's crazy to put it this way, but friends that drag you down are like subscriptions you don't want. Now, I'm not saying you should always choose to be alone, but you shouldn't avoid it or be afraid of it. You shouldn't be afraid to lean on yourself and your own thoughts without having to have them reinforced by other people. Because having no friends to follow or no friends to fall back on is when you really start to learn who you are and what you truly value. You also begin to regain everything that these people were holding you back from. And you'll start to ask and answer questions, which is the most important thing. And this next bit, it mostly applies to coworkers and classmates, but maybe some of y'all can relate, but it's just so refreshing to let go of this sort of baggage and drama that comes with filler or fake friends. Not only that, but when you don't have external influences, you start to learn how to actually form your own opinions instead of just taking your friends' opinions because that's the comfortable thing to do in order to avoid conflict. But when it's just you and yourself forming an opinion, your mind will start to weigh each option or each opinion honestly because you don't have to worry about what your friends will think. I'm not encouraging you to cut everyone off if they don't serve you, but I just want you to realize that being alone isn't truly as bad as you think. Being alone and having no friends comes with so many benefits. Once you realize that, you'll start to realize that having no friends can actually be an advantage.